Welcome to SFLiberalBuzz. Thanks for tuning in this evening. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the Warriors Stadium, and also we're going to talk about some new legislation in the cannabis community regarding density in certain neighborhoods and patient accessibility to those dispensaries that are going to be diminished if they're going to change the green zone around. So my guest Eli Hernandez is going to have some information about that. And first we'll run through the Twitter posts. I've got a few things if you want to give me a follow, I'll follow you back. Denise Dory, right there. You don't have give me a follow and I'll follow you back right there. And so we'll start off with if people are against legalizing cannabis, ask them if they are for making alcohol legal. More people die every day from alcohol than pot. So that was Eli sending me the tweet. Thank you for that, Eli. David Campos and Supervisor Jane Kim talking about the need to increase relocation payments in for Ellis activees. That can be seen on the Examiner. You can find it on my Twitter feed. So people who are being evicted often have equity. It's called tenant equity, and a lot of people don't know about this. They'll just say, "Oh well, I was going to move to Seattle anyway." So anyway, they're just too easily convinced to move when they don't necessarily have to.
Thank you, Supervisor Kim and Supervisor Campos, for this legislation.
And the Warriors want to build their stadium on the waterfront, while the city borrows $120 million from the Warriors at 13% for their pier, and they want the city to be on the hook for that. So we'll get back to that in a little bit. And the SFPD union raffling off sweet prizes to cover alleged dirty cops' legal defense. So that Marty Halloran is, of course, the head of the head of the SFPOA, Police Officers Association, and so he's trying to diminish the bad taste people are getting in their mouth from this raffling sweet prizes. The cops were accused of drug trafficking and extortion.
And there's plenty of video on YouTube that shows officers clearly entering people's residences in SROs in a Tenderloin,
yes,
forcibly assaulting them in the hallways.
Yes, there's that. Yes, they do all sorts of things and they get away with it with impunity. And then the Anarchist Book Fair, don't miss that. It's in Oakland now. San Francisco just isn't hip enough anymore to have this Anarchist Book Fair. So it's at the Crucible in West Oakland. Just hop on BART and take it across the bay to West Oakland and walk a couple blocks from the BART station. You'll be there. Just follow the freaks and the free thinkers. I mean, the critical thinkers. Just follow them. And marijuana job fairs are now a thing. And that's on the Huffington Post. I like that. So be sure and check out that article. Especially if you want a job in the cannabis community, cannabis industry. I like to think of it as a community. NASA study concludes when civilization will end, and it's not looking good for us. So, grow hemp. And actually, software won't be. The Supreme Court's going to rule on whether software can be patented. Certain kinds of software. So that might. There's arguments on both sides whether it will stimulate more inventions or whether it will discourage people from wanting to invent things because they can't. I mean, some of these patents are ridiculous. First it's 25 years and it's 99 years. Please, it's in a way patents are a bad thing if they go too long.
Exactly. There's even a patent for eyeglasses for chickens.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You're drinking the wrong kind of milk. Drink Guernsey, Jersey, or Nomad if you're lactose intolerant. Sometimes it's the breed of cow that the milk comes from. And I'm not advocating dairy products, although I do use them myself.
Interesting, because I'm lactose intolerant and I drink soy milk.
Oh. Well, the Swedish soy milk isn't all that great. I've been reading about that too. They have to use chemicals to make the soy edible. And it's just, I read about it on Facebook the other day. It's kind of scary. And Swedish government gave indigenous peoples land to the mining company. I'm talking about the Samis way up north. And they're in a fight against the miners. The miners are, you know what miners do. They just make the landscape unlivable. So progressive values and common good versus digital capitalism. How much tech can one city take? There's an article about that. at 48 Hills. They have some pretty good articles that are quite progressive. Progressive values versus digital capitalism. Also, Congress to Obama reclassify pot. I'll take that call in a second. Rand Paul backs bill that could lead to crackdown on states where voters legalized weed. Obama would veto. Yeah, let's get to the caller. Hello, caller. Congress to reclassify pot. Rand Paul backs bill that could lead to crackdown on states where voters legalized weed.
Yeah, sorry about that, caller. If you can try again.
No, it was actually, it wasn't a call, it was the wrong number.
Oh.
Rand Paul looks at a bill that could lead to crackdown on states where voters legalized weed, and Obama would veto that, so that article is pretty interesting. I read all these articles. Clean Up the Plaza campaign run by developer-connected political consultant Jack Davis and his mystery donors. Ooh. Ooh. So there's a few more. SFLiberalBuzz just voted undemocratically to oppose Prop B, the height limit on the ballot. So, and that was one vote over. One vote was a swing vote. They lost by one vote, Prop B. So the D-triple, we're gonna have to. And it's hard to get D-triple-C. Mostly 98% of what they endorse gets through, so it's an uphill climb for that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And
we'll get to the caller in just a moment.
the DEA struck a deal with Mexico's most notorious drug cartel, and the government. So that was an article. The government forced to explain police cell phone tracking in closed court and exposed on appeal, despite private corporate desire for secrecy. So those appeals will sometimes get the information at sealed records. They kicked everybody, all the audience out of the courtroom and had a closed hearing about this. So because police can track your cell phone, they just need a device, they point it in your direction or whatever, and just pick up your conversation that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. The government can track our cell phones, but it cannot
Can't
track
find the plane.
I know.
And a California bill would ban butane concentrates. One can smoke concentrates in public with pen vaporizers and give police the fits. So you don't want to hurt the poor cops by vaporizing, right? So, 25 ways not to be a gentrifier. So we're back to the beginning of the tweets. So that's gonna wrap up the tweets for now. Let's get this caller, see if they. Hello, caller. Okay, so we're back to this. All right, now. So next I want to tell you about the public land that's going to, on Pier 30. This is about the Warriors Stadium, because on the D-triple-C voted with the developer, like I just said in a tweet, on the height limit on Prop B with one swing vote. Well, actually, they're using public land. It's 13.2 acres, and it's Pier 30 through 32, and they're trying to say that the pier is, it's ruined, it needs to be upgraded. It's not in that bad a shape. It was good enough for them to use it for the World Cup. It was good enough for them to use it for the World Cup. Oh, good. So we're still on. Okay, and so the Warriors Stadium, they want to build a basketball arena and a 500-car garage, a 92,000 square foot shopping center on the waterfront in front of the Delancey Street and across the street on publicly owned land, more publicly owned land, and it's a seawall lot, number 330. They want to build 510 million condos on, let's see, 5 to $10 million condos, excuse me. I know, that didn't sound right. And a luxury hotel on land that we own, you and I, if you're a San Francisco resident, you own it too, it's public land. And this land should be used for low-income housing. Art Agnos thinks that, and I have to say I agree, because we really have no income housing. We're in dire need of it. And the pier needs to be, they say that the pier needs to be repaired, but it really doesn't. And and they claim it's falling down. They want to build a new concrete pier 60 feet deep, and the stadium would be 12 stories high and hold 18,000 people, and the garage will be 500 cars, and it's only for the Warriors VIPs and luxury box holders. It's not for the public. It's not public parking, and there's no parking for the public for that stadium. They're really and think of how crowded the buses are now.
Yeah, this is going to be a very congested on Muni itself. I mean,
Well,
right now,
yeah,
the T
the
line
plans-
and N line is converted for ballpark recipients.
Yeah, they put it in. The Giants actually put
Mhm.
that in. I was going to mention that. And the plans, they keep changing, but they keep changing kind of like the score in a basketball game. And but they will be it'll be 5 times larger than Union Square. So and the condo will be 17 story high rise, and higher than the current law allows. So
You have a diagram that former Mayor Art Agnew presented at the meeting. Would you like to show everybody what the diagram would look like?
yeah, I will. Yeah.
Wrong mouse.
Well, we'll get to that. Let's see. So actually, let's see. It's there's no environmental assessment done, and the estimate is $200 million to build an extra pier and a platform for the stadium, which is 9 stories high, and the way they're going to pay for it, the other well, it's $200 million total. With the $80 million, I'm getting to the $120 million that San Francisco is going to be stuck with. We're going to be stuck paying $120 million. I'll tell you how in a minute. But the other $80 million, they're going to try to make profits off condos. They say, oh, they're going to have 2 towers of luxury high-rise condos between that. They're only going to have 41 games of basketball a year. So, see, we've got the stadium is here, and they're going to build it out on a pier like that, and then there's going to be a shopping center, and then some more condos across the street. And they're using public land for this, and they only play 41 games of basketball a year. And I'm not knocking basketball. I really wish they'd build it. They can please build a Warrior Stadium over by Candlestick Park. They could use the jobs. They could use the foot traffic and the business. And
if the land at Candlestick Park is used, that's basically going to be half the current stadium for the new proposed arena, plus it's extra parking right there. I know Mayor Agnew's proposed, when he was mayor of San Francisco, to use Lot A where the Giants currently play,
yeah,
which is very practical in itself because you have public transportation, you have close to freeway access.
well, there's 2.2 million people are expected to go there every year.
If
And,
I actually lived
how are they
across,
going to get them there?
I know.
How, and it's near the Giant Stadium. The Giant Stadium actually, like we said, they took care of that. They beefed up transportation a little bit, and you saw what they did, and they didn't charge us for it. Well, we didn't. The SF taxpayers didn't pay for
No,
it.
the San Francisco Giants organization paid for every single penny, every single concrete that got poured into that new park.
And Muni is underfunded by $1 billion already. So, and the Warriors say this is is privately funded, and San Francisco has to pay $120 million for the pier and the platform, and we haven't gotten the Bay Bridge right, have we?
Not yet. Speaking of Bay Bridge, if I happen to live across the street from this new proposed arena, where's the new tower? That they promised the beautiful view of San Francisco.
Well, that area is the most densely populated, and most of the residents are new, haven't been here 7 or 8 years maybe. So, I don't know how, it doesn't seem doable really, not in that spot, because it's already densely populated, and we haven't gotten, San Francisco has to borrow the money from the Warriors, and we have to sell public lands for $30 million, that's $30 million of the money, and so the other $90 million is set by the appraiser set the property to be worth $30 million.
The property across
the public
the street.
land, yeah, the public land for $30 million they're gonna get. And that'll go towards what, but still, that's still 90 more million.
You know, that is such a great deal. I wonder if they actually
It's a
realized
killer deal.
about the height limitations, about the height limit that the planning was actually going to do.
And guess who pays the rest?
Who?
Wow.
Us? Oh my
Tax money, tax revenue. And they get free
Mr.
rent for,
President, this is why I pay taxes, right?
and they also get free rent for 30 years. And we pay 30% interest on that, all those millions. And why can't we build affordable housing and low-income housing, deeply affordable, and not take over, keep the public land for the public, really?
Exactly. How much public access space did Mayor Agnews say that they was going to have in this new public space? What, 17% at least? And it's a patch of grass a foot here, a patch of grass a foot there, patch of grass a foot here. This is what they consider public space.
And it's not really all contiguous public space. It's just a little, like you said, a patchwork. So it's really, how well is that serving the community? So you can call us anytime and talk about the Warriors Stadium. I think that Eli has some things he has to cover. I've taken up way too much of his time. I apologize for that.
That's quite all right, Denise. Just as a reminder, 415-861-6648.
Right there.
Yeah, right here on the phone number. So, okay, what I will be talking about is evaluating the planning codes of medical cannabis dispensaries location requirements. I know that's a mouthful. To break it down in layman's terms, where you can open up a dispensary in the city of San Francisco. To give you a little brief history of this, first thing I wanted to basically give you a little history of Proposition 215, which was passed in 1996. The California voters passed, which was known as the Compassionate Act use, by a 56% majority, making California the first state in the union to allow for the medical use of cannabis. This report was prepared in response to an ordinance, BF 130734, and introduced by Supervisor Avalos on July 16th of 2013. And it was actually passed into law on November 27th, which directs the Planning Commission to prepare and submit a report to the Board of Supervisors evaluating provisions of the Planning Code related to location of the medical cannabis dispensaries, otherwise known as MCDs from here on. Let's see. The hearing date will be on March 27th where exactly is it going to be, Denise, again?
The hearing date for
this planning commission?
101 Grove.
101 Grove on March 27th, then again on April 3rd and April 9th. I'm going to give you a quick summary of some of this report here about the medical cannabis laws in San Francisco, as well as the state and at the federal level. Number one, the extent to which MCDs are concentrated in particular communities within San Francisco. 2, the nature and extent of effects of the location requirements for MCDs on the medical cannabis patients' access to medical cannabis. The nature and extent of effects of the location requirements of MCDs on the public health, safety, and welfare in the communities in which MCDs are located. Which means this allows for people who are medically unable to go a mile to a dispensary to get their compassion. To continue, number 4, whether increased community input into the approval process to establish an MCD would benefit public health, safety, welfare, and if so, which procedures would be most effective in increasing such community input, which the community has been majorly involved in, and I'll give you a list of supporters here in just a moment. To continue on, also to projected impacts on the public health, safety, and the welfare of expanding the areas in which MCDs be located, and the best operational practices that should be employed by MCDs to ensure the public health, safety, and welfare, including but not limited to minimum levels of security measures, hours of operation, and location. This is basically the same as any other operational business, such as a tavern, a mom and pop grocery store, or you go into a liquor store as well. Everything, nail parlor, hair salon.
Which has been an issue of density of nail parlors.
Exactly. Let's see. And I'm also going to talk to you about Senate Bill 420. If you aren't familiar with Senate Bill 420, it basically establishes limits of where dispensaries can be located, such as 1,000 feet from schools, playgrounds, recreation centers, youth centers, a school bus, where you can't operate a vehicle, motor vehicle, anything like that. And I also stated that many people actually were supported and talked to about this new proposal here, such as the Planning Department, Public Health, SFPD, San Francisco Unified School District, the City Attorney's Office, such as Ryan Klossnitzer, who's the Department of Public Health, Sergeant Ellie Turner, SFPD Permit Officer. You have Vicki Wong, Deputy City Attorney, Captain Hector Sanyez of the SFPD. You have David Owen, who's an MCD advocate. You also have Shona Gokenauer, Executive Director of Access of Love. You have Patrick Gogan, Attorney at Law. You also have neighbors such as Terry Bennett, who's the President of the Merchants of Upper Market in Castro. Pat Tura, Dubuque Triangle Association. Lori Heath, neighbor of an MCD, a neighbor. See, everybody here was actually discussed and talked to within the community, whether it comes from your local neighbor, your politicians, your police officers. We are actually in agreement for this whole entire proposal here because the health department actually needs to be implemented into this planning. Denise?
The police department.
No, the health department.
The health department should be in charge of it because it's a health issue. It's medical cannabis, so it's not.
Exactly. And we have about 30 seconds left on our show.
Yes, and if you want to get to any of the videos that I've shown you, like the video with Art Agnos talking about Warrior Stadium here, that can be found on Axis of Love TV, so on YouTube. So that's a sneak preview, and it's going to be on the Axis of Love show.